Hey team, I'm Amanda English and I am a sales leader, and I just want to talk to you about a couple of the things that I do at parties. Now, I actually do both of these things all of these things at home parties and Facebook parties, and it's kind of the same basic format. So I'm going to just talk to you about what I do, and I try to make it simple and short and sweet and very informative, but not too drawn out. So I find that people really like to know that their consultant knows what they're talking about, but you don't have to know everything. You just need to know enough, right? So the first thing is, one of the first things I do, so for a Facebook party specifically, I'm going to just talk about that for a second. When I first go live during the party, and that's something that I do for every party because I feel like it's really important for my guests to be able to interact with me. But one of the first things I do is talk about the dangers of chemicals. And this is one of the first topics at home parties too, after like intros and all of that. And I know someone else will be sharing about those things with you. But I talk about the dangers of cleaning and why it's even necessary for me to be teaching a new, better way of cleaning. And I kind of go through the fact that chemicals, we have to be our own health advocates. We have to know what's safe and on the shelves that we want to be using. Just because something is sold in a store does not mean that it's safe. And it would be so nice if that were true. But unfortunately, whether it's food or household cleaners, we have to know what the ingredients do and whether they're harmful to us or not, because there's nobody out there watching our backs, even though there should be. So sometimes something is so prevalent and so outwardly toxic that they will pull it from the shelves, but it's very rare, unfortunately, and there's not a lot of research being done on it. So the first thing that I like to do, you'll see I covered my label. I'm not in the business of calling out companies or, bad mouthing anybody, but these are very popular. So I like to kind of say, I'm sure you guys have a popular brand of disinfectant wipes. If you don't use this brand, there may be another. And if you're not using them in your home, your kids' schools might be using them. I'm sure you're coming into contact with them somewhere, because even I am, unfortunately, every now and then, because not everybody uses Norwex all the time. But let me just share that if you're using these products, and if for some reason after this party you still want to continue to use them, I at least want to make sure that I'm training you to use them correctly, because these companies don't go out of their ways to train anybody. And our parents, they had their way of cleaning and they taught us. And just like, we see commercials of how people are using them and we think that it's okay. So you'll see it says that it kills 99.9% of viruses and bacteria. And then it has those two little asterisks there, right? Ooh, those are very subtle. And then I say, okay, well, who has read the back of the label? And so Facebook Live takes a minute. Usually people don't answer right away. But sometimes people in the party, they're like, no, I've never read the directions. So I'll say, who's read the label? Have you read this before? Did you know that that you are supposed to, and I'll read it. I'll say it says pre-clean surface. Use enough fresh wipes to thoroughly wet the surface. Surface must remain wet for the entire contact time. And then it says to disinfect, which is what they're claiming here. This is what we're thinking that it's doing every time it's cleaning. To disinfect, allow to remain wet for 4 minutes. 4 minutes. And some of these brands, they'll say visibly wet for 4 minutes. And that's crazy. And sometimes people are like, oh, and you'll say, have you ever done that? Do you watch it and make sure it stays wet for 4 minutes? And usually people are like, no, it dries right away. And then we put stuff on it. And then I say, okay, let me continue reading. And then it just says, blah, 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 nothing really that important. And then it says, rinse thoroughly with water. Now, some of the brands, they'll say potable water, rinse thoroughly with potable water. Hello, who does that? But why do you think they need to say that? It's because there's a residue from the chemicals, and they know that you're not supposed to be coming in contact with it, and you're definitely not supposed to be ingesting it. So if you're putting food on that surface and then eating it, it can get inside of your body like directly. That's scary stuff. So I talk about that, and I talk about how your skin is your largest organ in your body, and how on your face, your hands, and your feet, the skin actually more rapidly absorbs the stuff that it comes into contact with. So Unfortunately, that's really inconvenient for us when it comes to cleaning or walking around freshly mopped floors with bare feet, because again, that residue is there. Or if you're cleaning with a wipe without gloves, the residue is getting on your hands. So anyway, I talk about that, and then I say, but don't worry. I try not to make it too lengthy with this. Okay, reading the directions is usually sufficient, and just saying, are you guys using these correctly? There's a better way. Okay. And then you will go into, I will say, well, there's 3 main types of cleaning. Everybody's familiar with thermal cleaning. That's cleaning with heat, like hot water in your sinks or in your washing machine. It really helps to loosen the dirt and the grime and the oils and have it all washed away. And then there's chemical cleaning. And then I always go like this. We talked about that. But chemical cleaning doesn't just entail toxic chemicals. It also involves like baking soda, vinegar, things that are natural. And those are not terrible to clean with. If you want to clean with those things, that's fine. I just found an easier, better way to do it. So, and the thing about anytime you're using a cleaner, of any kind, even if it's natural, even if it's safe, you're still going to be using or leaving a residue on that surface, and that's where sometimes it can cause you to end up having to clean more often because it's going to attract more dirt. Anytime there's a residue, sorry, I'm bouncing a little. I talk with my hands. Anytime there's a residue on a surface, it's going to attract dirt and grime to it, and so you're going to have to be cleaning that dirt off and dust and whatever more frequently. And then I say, and then there's this third type of cleaning that most people haven't heard of, unless you're using Norwex already and you have a consultant that you work with. And it's called mechanical cleaning. So there's thermal, chemical, and mechanical. And the mechanical cleaning is using microfiber to clean the surface. That's where Norwex comes in, and it is amazing. So instead of killing everything on your surface with the chemicals and leaving the chemical on that surface or having to rinse it away, we are mechanically removing everything with the microfiber as it glides across the surface. It's picking everything up. And that's when I talk about, let me explain to you, since some of you may have already used microfiber before or felt it or touched it or seen it in stores, let me explain why Norwex is different. And that's when I talk about there are 3 things that separate Norwex from other types of microfiber, and one is the size of the fiber. In order to be classified as microfiber, a strand of the microfiber has to be 1/6 the size of a strand of human hair. 1 strand of human hair. And I always mess with my hair, even now when I'm doing it with you guys, and I feel like I have to find it. And I'm also trying to fix my hair as I'm doing this. Guys are goofy. Okay, so you find 1 strand. It's not even easy to find. 1 strand of human hair, it has to be 1/6 the size. Norwex microfiber is 1/200th the size of a strand of human hair. So it's a lot finer. The second thing is the density. And if I'm at a home party, I pass around the cloth and I'm like, feel the cloth. Can you feel how dense that is? Well, if we were to unravel this cloth, and then I'll point to 2 people in the party. I'll say she could be, and I'll try to use her name if I know it, but I'll say she could be standing in Canada holding one end of that cloth, and as we unwind it, the next person holding the other side could be in the Gulf of Mexico holding the other side. That is crazy. So it's real thick, and you can feel how tightly woven it is. The third thing is the backlock. That's our microsilver technology, and that is not something that you will find anywhere else because it's a patented technology. What that basically means is that there's silver embedded in the cloth. Microsilver is embedded in the cloth. And when I say embedded, there's a difference between being like intertwined and being embedded, like, for instance, if you were to pour creamer into coffee, you wouldn't be able to take that creamer back out. They're now mixed, right? So that's kind of the same process as our microsilver being embedded in the cloth. And I'll talk about that again in a few minutes when I'm doing my demos. So those are my 3 things. I talk about the dangers of cleaning, the 3 types of cleaning, and then what makes Norwex different from the other microfibers they may have seen. And then I lead into my demos, and I think there's some other fabulous leaders here that are going to be talking about the demos. So enjoy the training. If you have questions, you're always welcome to ask me. I'm always happy to share parties and tips and whatever. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day and enjoy the training. Bye.